Hello everyone, let's try talking about a new game for once. Here we are, Sunset Overdrive. From the fellows at Insomniac Games, we're given a fun, colorful, and fast-paced game that reminds us of the 90s punk counterculture. Relishing in personal freedom, defying authority, sticking it to the man, and never selling out. Oh. Actually, that was a little mean. There's an interesting reason it's only on Xbox One. It turns out Insomniac Games wanted to actually keep an IP they worked on for once. So when they were pitching the idea for funding, Microsoft was apparently the only one that would let them keep it. Now, as someone who's had copyright and IP fights of his own over books he's written, I can sympathize with that issue.
What was that you said about selling out again?
Oh, whoops. Anyway, a short description of Sunset Overdrive is to just imagine Tony Hawk's skateboard games with guns. The central mechanic of the game is to keep mobile by grinding, bouncing, wall running, and dashing through the air while raining destruction on everything ugly. Chaining together tricks increases your style meter, unlocking new abilities to use as long as you keep up being awesome. There's a lot of abilities and weapons to choose from and upgrade, and nearly all of them are viable to use or experiment with in some way. Your weapons are incredibly creative, which is par for the course for the guys that gave us the Ratchet & Clank series. You get a basic handgun, and later an assault rifle, but then things get crazy. The first gun you get is actually a flame-spitting blunderbuss, and you can buy other stuff like an exploding teddy bear launcher, acid sprinklers, spear guns that leave enemy-attracting puddles, and a couple guns that use fireworks. You have a melee weapon too that's just as useful, and base defense missions allow you to set up traps as well. In the end, your main focus is to keep moving, and they could have called this game The Floor is Lava the video game and gotten away with that. I was joking, people! Anyway, there is a story, but first you make your character. Go as crazy as you want, too. Gender doesn't stop you from wearing what you want. Girl with bushy beard, guy with a skirt, whatever, have fun. That's all this game wants you to do, really. Have fun. God knows we could use more games that tell you to do that. Anyway, the story opens with finding out an energy drink is transforming people into monsters. Hold on. Billy, I told you to give me the game about the energy drink turning people to monsters, not sodas turning the people to monsters.
My mistake.
Seriously, no good help these days. Okay, so the premise isn't as unique as it sounds, but I'm not going to hold that against them. The entire story is lampooning itself constantly, so it's obvious we aren't meant to take anything seriously. Heck, your character gets in on the act whenever he can, and even starts yelling at the credits for bad decisions. That's how far the rabbit hole goes here, people. Your concern is to escape with help from survivors around the city. And the factions you recruit include a mad scientist, a group of Oxford trust fundies, a scout troop studying Bushido, LARPer nerds, and ninja cheerleaders channeling the Day of the Dead in their outfits. Of course, there's your standard bad human group mixed in with the rampaging monsters also, and later corporate robots show up as well. What's nice, though, is that if those baddies cross paths, they are more than willing to shoot the other guys as much as you, and certain weapons work better on certain enemies. Also, boss fights in the game focus just as much on the traversal mechanics as well as your aim, so at no point in the game do they take what you learn and tell you to ignore it. In fact, the game even tries to ensure you can customize your character to play however you like. You earn badges as you fight and move around, and each badge can be applied to abilities to improve aspects of how you earn the badge. The more you grind, the more you can upgrade grinding, things like that. Unlocking the amps, though, are annoying, since you can only buy them with certain collectibles you find around the map. Want that sweet amp there? Well, you better find more sneakers, and the game doesn't care if you found 50 cameras or toilet paper rolls. That's a bit of a minor thing, though. I got through the game with only the basic unlocks, so there's nothing forcing you to get anything. Now, I'm not going to focus on the story any more than I already have, simply because there's really not much to discuss about it, outside of one big twist and one obvious one. I will say, though, that the story is incredibly fun to play through, just like the rest of the game. And every chance it gets to spoof the medium, it will. Heck, this is one of the few games where you might want to die simply so you can see all the wacky ways you respawn. Your character also likes to let out some funny lines whenever he can think of them.
But how do I know you can use them?
I'm an American?
Now, with all the fun in the single-player mode, well, I just had to try some multiplayer. You know, after I gave Microsoft $10 for something that I can do for free on the computer, running around the city and raising a ruckus with a bunch of other people is just too tempting. And while they don't have co-op story mode, they do have multiplayer missions. In something called Chaos Mode, you run through a number of voted-on missions. Each mission gives you certain bonuses for the grand finale, a nighttime defense mission against a swarm of OD. And at the end of it, your score is tallied up and you get bonuses such as ammunition, cash, or even costume parts. Among this, the developers also have community challenges. Things that give lots of bonuses when the players, either in the multiplayer or the single-player mode, reach certain objectives. Like, kill a lot of monsters with certain weapons, that kind of thing. And the fun thing is, they announced this on in-game jumbotrons. You can choose to run by and ignore them, or even stand in front of them and watch them in full screen. But in the end, it really gives the impression the developers want to keep in touch with their community. And these days, that is a very rare trait. Now, among all this, there is one legitimate complaint I have, but it's not really the fault of the game. Would somebody please let me buy the stinking soundtrack already? Music is factored heavy in the game. The more stylish you are, the more the music plays, running from basic beats all the way up to the full song with lyrics. And like any game channeling the punk motif, it has a very large selection of punk rock in it. So if you hear more than 3 chords in a song, that means someone's finger slipped. One mission even has you gather a band, and your character even mentions to somebody that their only experience being playing in a garage is perfect for what you need. I'll admit I didn't recognize the cameo, but when I looked them up, I did find someone else to add to my playlist. Now, aside from the cameo by the Melvins and a few other licensed songs, almost all the music was specifically made for this game. And although the credits list the song titles, it's hard to figure out when and where most of them are played. If they do release a soundtrack, it'll most likely be multiple discs, but I will buy it in a heartbeat. Now, I'm bringing all this up and discussing it because, in my opinion, a good video game soundtrack is one where you can listen to it in your car or something like that, and not recognize it as coming from a video game. The punk rock might not be your thing, but this game's soundtrack does fit that criteria. So great job, guys.
You're just using this game to live vicariously out in the 90s, aren't you?
Billy, I lived through the 90s, okay? I don't need to play a game to know how the 90s worked. I saw the entire counterculture as it was all happening, and oh my god, that was 20 years ago. Now, I've had friends I've talked to this game about, and they say that they've seen the videos and gameplay and aren't interested because it just looks like all you do is grind on rails and stuff. Let me say right now that, like with most games, there is a very big difference in this game with watching it and playing it. It's like riding in a car versus driving it. When you're in control, you feel different. I've had lots of fun with the game and plan to play it more if I get the time to. I don't know for sure what they've got planned in the future. Like with any modern AAA game, they've already announced a season pass for DLC. However, outside of possibly introducing a multiplayer story mode or campaign exploration thing, this game is incredible and one of the best I've ever played. If you own an Xbox One, buy this game right now. Ask for it for your birthday, add it to your Christmas list, whatever. If you don't have an Xbox One, sorry about your luck. I'm not happy about console exclusives either. It's like having DVDs that won't play on Panasonic players. But take heart in the fact that since Insomniac went out of their way to keep their hands on this property, there might be a cross-platform release in the future. God knows you're probably not going to throw around another $300-400 just for one game.
If this is one of the best, what are some of the other ones you think are good?
Well, you know, some of the usual, some not. Silent Hill 2, Zone of the Enders, Command and Conquer.
What about this game, Beyond Good and Evil?
I haven't gotten around to that one yet. Billy, did you hear something?
I think that was you putting your reviewer cred in jeopardy.
Good night, everyone. And remember, from all your friends here at the Millennial Senior and Sunset Overdrive, drink responsibly.